perfect timing for everyone to join us. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you. So just to make sure, right, you're in the right spot. This is Critical Self-Reflection and Qualitative Research, the workshop. And I'm Dr. Anna Cohen-Miller, and this is...
I'm Dr. Nettie Boivin.
Welcome. So before we get into the details of this workshop itself, we want to first create the space and help ourselves to be centered. And so we're going to do a practice that is called a brain dump. I don't know, has anyone heard of this before? Okay, I see no hands or shaking heads. So this is a pedagogical tool that I initially learned about it as a cooperative learning. And this is a way then, so in the classroom, but I use this at workshops and conferences and in a professional setting as well, and for research to get ourselves centered as a contemplative practice, as a way to really just be in the now. So I'm going to set a timer for 4 minutes. In a couple minutes, I'll explain this first. If I have a pen and paper, maybe y'all had that already, or great, Nettie has one. If you want to use your computer or your phone, that's fine. But the idea is to write nonstop for 4 minutes. You don't have to share this with anybody. Yeah. Some people at the end rip it up, right? Like it's, thoughts that they want to get out of their head, or maybe it's a list that they're making for things that they want in the future. And so what I will do also is to play a little bit of music in the background for us. Let me know. Let's see. Can you hear this?
A little higher up, maybe?
A little louder?
Louder, sorry.
Yeah? Okay. Can you all hear it now? Kind of?
Oh, probably you have to, in the microphone, you have to select where the sound comes from.
Yeah. Can you hear it?
A little bit. It's okay.
Only a little bit.
Yeah.
Excuse me, is there any theme to write?
He asked if there's anything for him to write.
Is there any theme? Yeah.
If there's
a theme for him to write.
Yes.
Okay. That's a great question, right? So the idea is for you to write what's on your mind. Right? So this is a practice. Sometimes people think about it as journaling. You can think about it as, if you don't know what to write, you can literally write, I don't know what to write.
Yeah, right? Or draw a picture or something. Kind of the idea, sorry to interject, but kind of the idea is like, when you want to become critical and reflect critically, your mind has to be calm. It can't have all these, intersecting ideas. So we're trying to get us to a place of our minds being calm. And to do that, dump out all the crap that's in our brains right now. So if that helps.
That's perfect. Okay, so we can try it. It may be uncomfortable for some people. That's okay. We can sit in the discomfort. I'm setting the time for 4 minutes. I'll let the music is not on right now, which is fine. So for 4 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and write also. I'll keep my video on as well, and I'll let you know, right, when the time is up. And I will write in the chat also what we're doing.
Oh, just for the person who entered, someone who entered while we had started this, just to let you know, we're doing a brain dump. So we're writing stuff that we're thinking to try to cleanse our brain of any ideas and emotions that they felt, and so this is why we're all silent and quiet. But you can write and talk at the same time if you want.
Okay. Y'all did it, right? That was then 4 minutes
Good.
of silent, right? Or silent-ish brain dump. And as Nettie mentioned, this is a tool that's effective for moving through critical self-reflection. As someone had written, I think I saw that on the chat, right? That, this is looking for ways in which to learn how to critically self-reflect. All right, so great. So I'm going to turn off my chat. So let me know, Nettie, if I'm missing something as I continue on. All right, so now that we're here, right? I don't know, I'm not seeing a lot of y'all, so feel free to use any of the reaction buttons if y'all are doing okay, if you need me to slow down, or either of us, or questions at any point. So this space, one thing that's important about this workshop is also kind of embodying this idea of the critical self-reflection and feeling safe, feeling together, right? Because when you critically self-reflect, or at least when I do, I don't always find things that I love. It's not all like, oh, look, everything is joyous and everything was perfect about research. Instead, I'm finding things that I want to improve, ways to enhance my work in a socially just way. So we're here together. We're open to all voices. We want to hear you. We want to have this be a respectful space where we all grow in awareness together.
Anna?
Yeah.
Have you switched to the next slide? Yeah, we're not seeing the next slide. Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, there you go.
Perfect.
Oh, and now I can hear your music, so you have to turn your music off.
All right, now you can also, this is very interesting. Okay, let me try this. All right.
As in research, life interrupts.
Here we go. Okay. Yes.
There we go. Okay.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So y'all can see the screen, creating the safe space. Thank you. Right? So safe, coming together, open to all voices, respectful space, growing together in awareness and learning together, right? And so where I wrote this final bit of video, right? So often this comes up in Zoom, right? Oh, do you need to show yourself? We recognize that there are limitations to using video. Of course, we would love to see you all. And when you get a chance, that's great. If you can't, we also recognize that, right? Yeah. That this is, issues of access to internet and how it works and your space and who's around here. So, all right. Any questions before we move on? Yeah, look. All right. Everyone's okay. All right. So now let's officially introduce ourselves. So I'm Dr. CohenMiller, and I work at Nazarbayev University, Graduate School of Education out in Kazakhstan. I'm also founding director of the Consortium of Gender Scholars. And in general, I'm a qualitative methodologist. I specialize in arts-based methodologies, and I focus on issues of equity and inclusion, broadly issues of social justice and higher education, with an emphasis on gender, such as mothers in academia or mother scholars, and the use of innovative pedagogy in both these cases, right? Using the arts and innovation in order to better hear participants and students. And one of the research projects, which we're happy to share these PowerPoints later with y'all, is an international study where we're working with around 5 different countries, looking at gender in the higher education trajectory, looking at how to co-create equitable futures. So that's broadly about me. What about you, Nettie?
Hi. Okay, I'm Nettie Boivin, and I was previously a colleague with Dr. Anna CohenMiller at the Graduate School of Education, but I was in the multilingual education program. Presently now I'm in Finland. I'm at Jväskaylä University in the Language and Communication Studies department. And I too, like her, specialize in co-creation and co-production. I use a lot of arts-based as means to enable marginalized and various communities to overcome language as a power. I work a lot in, so I also work a lot in multimodality. And my conceptual area has been in multisensory discourse resources as a means to overcome decolonizing ethnographic practices. So at present, I'm on a European Horizon 2020 project with 14 partners, 9 countries, and it's called New ABC. And there's links if you want to check it out. We're working with trying to overcome, it's an innovative research actions, and where the different partners are working together to test and retest innovative practices which will enable children, and I'm working with paperless youth, migrant children and immigrant children to overcome barriers of social integration. So that's me. Now, we would like to get to know you guys, because this is, oh, sorry. I jumped the gun there. Sorry about that. So in working with migrants and multicultural areas, we have come together, and this is our workshop. It's about questions in qualitative research methods for multicultural contexts. And this workshop is a component of our book that we're writing together.
And the book will be out later in this year. And so we're looking forward to be able to share more of it with you as time comes. So now, right? As you were saying, Nettie, right? Getting to know each other.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would like to get to know you. And I know not all of you can put your cameras on, and that's respectful, especially in Europe, privacy issues, and I understand that. But what we'd like to go is to go through everybody and quickly talk about, who you are, your affiliation, your research background, and why you're here today. So let's start with, because Anna and I now, can we jump to Jamie?
Jaime.
Okay.
Jaime.
Jaime, can you tell us about you, your affiliation, and all that?
I'm a researcher at the University of Aveiro and a professor at the Polytechnic of Leiria in Portugal. I do qualitative research. My background, or my initial training, is an occupational therapist.
Oh, cool.
So, but I do research, and I'm a lecturer on applied research also in my degrees.
Nice.
So I'm here today because I was recruited to help you in the workshop.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate it.
It's a good opportunity to learn more.
Well, that's great.
Welcome.
Okay, great. And what about Kelly?
Yeah, probably Kelly. Yeah.
Sorry.
You're muted.
Yeah.
We can.
Sorry about that.
There we go. Perfect. Thanks.
It's still early in the morning here.
I
so
know, I understand.
I'm Kelly Granito. I'm an implementation research associate at MDRC here in the States. So it's a social policy research firm. I'm a former high school teacher, and my research is all in the K-12 education space. I do mostly qualitative research. I'm getting back from maternity leave, and I'm joining a new project where I'm going to be leading the qualitative research. So I was excited to join this session and kind of just get back into a headspace that lets me think really deeply about my role as a qualitative researcher. And perhaps like some other folks on this call, my kids are also in the other room too. So I might
chat about it. I've got a cat in the corner. It's yeah. Oh, wonderful to meet you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Liz, and your beautiful big dog. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Did you say Liz?
Liz, sorry, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
What a squishy pants, what a cutie.
So let's see, I just started my video. I don't know if y'all can
we can see
me. Can you see me?
You're a wonderful child.
Can y'all hear and see me?
Yep,
Yes.
I can see, yep.
Hmm.
So can you tell us a bit about, you know, who you are and where
hold
you're
on.
from?
Maybe, can you hear us okay? Maybe breaking up on that side.
Yeah, the
Oh, it could be,
both.
yeah.
Bandwidth. Kelly Road. Okay.
My name's Liz, and I am. Hello? Are y'all there?
Hello, yep.
You're back.
Okay. I'm back. Sorry. I'm Liz, and I am in Georgia in the United States. I work at University of West Georgia in Carrollton, which is close to Atlanta. And I'm a qualitative research specialist. I am new. I'm starting my 4th year. I graduated with my PhD in 2017. So I'm not fully specialized in anything yet, but I am learning. So I do a lot of conversation analysis, and my research is primarily on dialogue. So specifically, I look at interfaith dialogue and how adults learn when they engage with members of different faiths and religions through dialogue. You know, with the idea of conflict resolution and things like that. But let's see. I'm here today because I have not attended a workshop at a conference in a long time. It's been a while since I've been able to do that. And I was really excited about this topic because critical reflection and self-reflection is something that I try to teach my students to practice throughout the qualitative research course that I teach here, my doctoral students. So me doing it and getting a refresher in the concept and being able to hopefully teach it to them is something that I'm hoping to get out of it. And I think my video's on. I've got my, I don't know how well you can see me, but I've got my little one here with me. I got back from maternity leave in November. He's 6 months old. So we have a little tag along today.
Well, welcome Liz, and welcome Tagalong also. Thank you.
He's so cute. And the next person, Simon. How are you?
Hello, I'm Simon. Yes, I'm sorry that I'm wearing pajamas.
That's totally cool. That's okay.
Yes, I am a psychiatric nurse. I have been being a clinical psychiatric nurse for 25 years. I'm teaching in the higher educations, and I'm a senior naturalist. I am a doctorate students. I'm writing my thesis and almost at the end. So I'm working on the qualitative research. And as I'm background, I always want to know more inner feelings and inner thoughts and better meanings. So the qualitative is more suitable for me. But as I found that many colleagues, especially some general nurses, they always focus on quantitative, and we cannot communicate much about. We do not have a meaningful dialogues with my colleagues. So it is very interesting to know what is qualitative. Qualitative is very interesting because it is different paradigm or different modes of thinkings. We cannot talk. We have different mode of thinkings. So it's very interesting. It is the recent things that I have come up to my mind.
Oh, good. Well, welcome.
Great.
This is great.
Welcome, Simon.
Yeah, that's great to meet you. And Anna, did I say that right? I'm sorry. I apologize if I.
Yeah, I'm Ana Antunes. I work at University of Madeira. It is in Portugal, in the Madeira Island, in the middle of the ocean.
I love the wine.
I'm from educational psychology, and I do qualitative and quantitative research also, but I'm a lecturer of qualitative research. So I have this interest also related to that point. And I'm here today because when I saw the list of the workshops, I thought that this one could be interesting. Also because I think critical thinking is very important, and critical thinking, well, adapted to qualitative research is also important. And I saw that in students also it is very important to think. So I thought it could be nice and interesting to be here today to learn a little more about this.
Oh, great. Well, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you here, Anna.
Now, the next person says iPhone to Carol. So I'm not sure if you want to tell us what your actual name is.
She's probably Carol.
Carol? Hello? Can Carol hear?
Probably Brazilian.
Carol?
Carol, are you there?
I'll rename. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Ah, there.
I just updated it, but we'll see. So, Carol, if you can come in, that's great. If I don't know if you're having trouble unmuting. Let's see. That's probably, I will update also.
Okay. Then do we want to go maybe Pilar? Hey, Pilar, can you tell us?
She doesn't,
oh, you don't have a mic.
She doesn't have a mic. Yeah,
Pilar, are you able to type in the chat room and tell us a bit about yourself?
Probably can go,
Okay, we'll go Nenke. Oh, I don't know if I said it right, but.
Nenke, yeah, from Belgium.
Nenke?
Ah, great.
You can turn your camera on now.
Yes, I got a message. It's disabled by the hosts, so I cannot.
Oh, so can somebody?
No, you can activate your video.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm Nienke Moermaat. I work at Ghent University, Belgium. I'm a clinical psychologist in my last year PhD student. I'm researching like what's called the negative symptoms of psychosis. So yeah. And for the moment, I'm doing a co-construction study about recovery from psychosis with 2 experts by experience. But yeah, it's like, I really like it. It's also really challenging for me to, it's like a very different relation with them. So yeah, that's why I thought this workshop would be really interesting for me.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Nice meeting you. Fabio.
Nice to have you here, Nick.
Fabio?
Fabio, are you there?
Or Carol or Ingrid?
Fabio is from the organization.
Okay.
So he's probably just controlling me.
Right? Could be.
Janeth?
Janeth, yeah.
Janeth, hi.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everyone. Do you hear me?
Oh, no, it's better.
Okay, now there. That's good. That's
hello,
good. Yes, perfect.
Here. I am. Yeah. Hello. Do you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am Janet, and I am from Palawan, Philippines. If you know it, one of the best tourist spots in the Philippines. Yeah, I am close to El Nido. It's just an hour. And I am a high school math teacher, so I am more acquainted with quantitative research. I am here in this conference because a mentor invited me to co-present. That will be tomorrow night. And I'm really new in qualitative research, so I chose this research. And it's nice meeting you all here.
Good. That's
nice to have you here, Jenna.
Nice to meet you. Dorothea, or Dorothy?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. I just opened the video. I don't know if you see me.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. Okay. So my name is Dorothée Ayer, and I come from the University of Fribourg in Switzerland.
Oh, nice.
And my research background, actually, I did a research about intercomprehension. So it's about languages and the way to use languages in a multicultural situation, multilingual situation. And so now I work on the bilingual education mostly. And I'm here because I found it interesting. and especially because I have a master thesis student, and we have to direct them in different field, and especially educational science field. And so I think it's interesting, to open our mind to all different approach.
Oh, well, wonderful.
Great.
Nice
Welcome, Dorothy.
Thank you. So Anna, I think the other ones didn't have mics, or that, like Carol or Ingrid, I'm not sure, weren't able to. Carol is away somewhere, and Pilar
doesn't have a mic. So
Pilar doesn't have a mic. Okay.
Okay. Well, feel free to, if anyone else, wants to share, please feel free to come in. Okay. So, well, thanks so much. So great to have y'all here. So one of the questions, that this was posted in the chat also that you were interested in, but so Nettie, do you want to tell us some about self-reflection, critical self-reflection?
That's great, because I know Simon was really interested in this. And so I always like to give the example, when some of you are in education and you talk to your students and you say, reflect on what you've learned. That's a very open question, because a lot of students will go, I learned that I didn't do well. I learned that I failed. I learned that I made, you haven't quite focused or mediated, given yourself a focused question. So this is where the critical part comes in, because we can all think about, we can reflect on us being educators or researchers. We reflect in our areas and we always think these value-laden words, good, bad, right, wrong. But critical self-reflection, it forces you to focus on how can you do it next time? How can this occur better? Rather than in the present moment, what right or wrong, but in the future, how would I like to change something? So rather than thinking about it as it's like if you're doing science. If you do science or math, you have very particular variables, and it's what variable you plug in will end up with a different result, a different outcome, depending upon the variables. And it's the same kind of thing in self-reflection. How you mediate what you want to reflect on will change the outcome of your reflection. So Anna, should I give the example of the wrapper here? Is this the?
No, let's wait a moment.
Okay.
But we can come back to that, because that's a really important point. So here, actually, we had thought that we would just take a minute or two and have y'all jot down any other words or ideas that you come up with, so Nettie gave you some ideas about maybe self-reflection, a bit deeper about critical self-reflection. What else maybe comes to mind for y'all, So we're going to take actually 30 seconds,
Yeah. So write down the differences between what you think and in your field, self-reflection and critical self-reflection. And you can write it in the chat. Is that correct, Anna?
Oh, sure.
Is it
in
okay
the chat or on a piece of paper or
wherever, and you can
wherever.
hold it up.
Exactly. Okay. So what kinds of words come to mind when you think of self-reflection? Either the self-reflection or critical self-reflection. I will be typing some things,
Yeah, so whatever you say, we will type, or she will type. Anyone? Simon, Maria, Liz, anybody want to? Internal biases. Oh, nice. Kelly, that's a great internal biases. Yeah.
I think of the word introspection.
Introspection.
Then type right now.
And Simon, he wrote personal experience.
Great.
Anybody else want to? Oh, we got two more. Wait, sorry. It can be emotional. Someone wrote it can be an emotional. Oh, sorry, Anna wrote it can be emotional. And Jamie has, so I think we might have to switch to the critical self-reflection. And Jamie was saying support with robust facts or literature for critical self-reflection.
Support
with robust facts.
Oh, robust.
Facts or literature.
Okay. Very cool stuff y'all are coming up with. And if I've put, so I put
it was Simon that said that. Sorry, Simon said that. I made a mistake.
If these other ones, right? So people were saying internal biases, introspection, personal experience can be emotional. I just put them in the first column, right? Which happens to be self-reflection. But if you think they belong over on critical self-reflection, I can move them there or copy them as well, right?
And so, Anna, Jamie, sorry to interrupt you. Jamie also said about critical self-reflection. He thinks about improving myself, improving. So that's, I think that's a really strong word. That's really good. And Dorothea, she has a wonderful specific method or procedure to do it. That's very interesting. And Kelly, okay, from different perspectives, aware of self-limit and biases. Anna also mentioned more focused from several perspectives. Dorothea had specific method or procedure to do it. Oh, Kelly, interrogating our assumptions.
Okay.
If I missed anybody, more focused. Okay.
More focused. Is that one also? Okay. These are great.
Yeah, it's
great.
Like, excellent.
Beautiful, right? So this right here, when we're coming together collectively, like collective knowledge, it gives me chills thinking about this, right? That what we actually know within ourselves and what we can learn from one another in this interaction. And this is a key point that we talk about in our book and about working with multicultural contexts. And those multicultural contexts can be like, if you think about yourself, right? So Jaime, you explained right before the beginning of this session, your background, right? That you're not from one place, right? You gave these multiple other iterations of what got you to where you are and our particular, if you have a particular religious faith or your particular ways that you've created family and lived, these all come together. So this is just beautiful. So now, here you go, Nettie.
And also, I'm going to say, and Simon, I'm not ignoring you. You wrote something that I really like. I'm going to come back to it in 1 second, though, But since this concept is not fixed, there's always, like you just said, what we had written down comes from several perspectives, particular focus, in order to move on to a positive direction. These are all things that you said. And what Simon wrote here that I got really excited about was, he talked about critical reflection, doing good for the society, self, and humans. Now, I find that incredibly interesting because I think the action, the process of doing critical self-reflection could lead to an outcome in research of doing good for the society, self. So here we kind of differentiate between the process and the outcome. Kind of thing, this is fascinating,
So we have one particular definition, right, that we've come up with. All of yours, right, help enrich this idea and provide insight. So I can read it if you want, Nettie.
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we think about this concept, and Nettie has already mentioned about words being value laden, they also shift, right? In our particular context, we're from all of these different fields, social policy, medicine, psychiatry, education, right? And different parts of the world. So as we say, since this concept is not fixed, here is a perspective, right? That critical self-reflection emphasizes a particular focus in order to move on in a positive direction to become, in this case, right, we're focusing on the research, to become a better researcher with my participants instead of on them. Okay. So this integrates, if I go back to this other slide, right, that that would involve actually recognizing internal biases, which we could move on to the critical side. It could involve an introspection that then you're looking to improve yourself. These different aspects that can absolutely be emotional, right? Whether it's just a self-reflective or critical, a personal experience. So all of the different points that y'all mentioned really provides a strong understanding of this. And so we'll continue through and we'll keep working. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Did you want to go back?
No, but I was gonna think, were we gonna?
The examples are coming up, right?
Okay, good. Yeah.
That's almost there, right?
Yeah.
So with critical self-reflection, right? So y'all talked about needing to or wanting to improve, right? Doing good for society. And that doesn't just happen, right? It requires, people are saying introspection, it requires work, it requires knowing where it is you're trying to go, right? So whether improving society, but in what ways? So we can think then about research, qualitative research, right? That it's not perfect. No research is actually perfect. Nothing is perfect, right? It's always a work in progress. We're all works in progress. So progress itself, maybe we could talk about as being perfect as we continue to progress. So it's okay, right? That research is not perfect. And so instead, we're working to become more critically self-reflective in order to become the type of qualitative researcher that we're aiming to become, right? And this can vary from person to person. So we're about to give you some examples also. So,
because I was going to say, I want to feed off what you just said about that we're not perfect, and which connects to the prior slide about the critical self-reflection, and it being a process. So the difference between qualitative and quantitative, sometimes in our mind, I don't think it's the truth, but I think the perception, we view quantitative as it comes out with a result, a fact that's finished, that's fixed. Whereas we always think of qualitative as ongoing. It's a process. So a process is not static, it's fluid, it's continual. And this is one thing where quantitative and qualitative researchers sometimes have difficulty in understanding this. A continual process requires that we continually critique our actions, our outcomes, our the way in which we do things, who we are, where we're coming from, to continually, as Anna had said, be better. Yes, we are, Liz. Sorry, she put a comment in the thing.
Okay, great. Okay, so what this means, that if there's no perfect research, that means that maybe we've had problems in the research before, or there's been slips, or there's been failures, or there's, right, whatever term that you want to say in terms of it not being perfect. So we could think about where could we have been better. So as a tip, this is a critical self-reflective question. Where could I have been better, right? And what does better mean, right? In what kinds of ways? How can I learn from this failure, right? Or what I'm referring to as a failure for improving research for the future. Again, another question of critical self-reflection. So Nettie, you had an example that you wanted to give, and then I can give one as well.
Okay.
And we want to hear from y'all also. So y'all can start.
Hear from our failures now. But again, failure is constant to me. We're continually failing because we're continually trying, So what happened to me as a researcher is I've worked a lot with marginalized groups for over decades now, but I'm constantly learning. And my last project, which was a 2-year project called Building Bridges, and it was centered around the notion of building between communities, between the trans migrants or refugees in Finland who had arrived recently, and the local Finns. And it was an arts-based collaborative ethnographic research project. It had 3 sessions, and in the final session, it was a rap-based session in which we went into, it was an after-school programs. We went into, they were Finnish called middle school, but roughly the age 13 to 14. And we had Finnish rappers working along with an Iranian rapper, and they helping these, and then most of this participants ended up, for whatever, as being young girls. They were 13, 14-year-old girls, Finnish girls. And so they were working together with him to build, to create songs, etc. And then what happened one time was the two Finnish rappers were not available to teach that session, or to actually facilitate the session. So we asked the Iranian to lead it, and he did. So with my background, I was so fixated and focused on this marginalized migrant refugee and what his needs were and what his challenges and barriers were, that I completely forgot that 13, 14-year-old girls in themselves have their own issues and things. So when he taught the class, he did it like culturally from his background as being their teacher-centered. Iranian are very teacher-centered, and he was very assertive and because he was trying to cheer them on. And so unfortunately, his language was, his Finnish was a little more aggressive. His teaching style was a little more aggressive than what the Finnish girls were used to. And we lost a participant. She quit. And when we found out later that she felt upset about the way in which he spoke about the lessons, etc. So my failure was, I should have been more aware that there would be, because I know there's a educational cultural difference between Finland and Iran, and I should have been aware of this and spoke with him previous to the session and say, Finnish girls, you'll have to, maybe might not be used to the way in which they learn, so you might have to speak differently. And I completely forgot. And so it resulted in losing one of the participants, unfortunately. So this was a lesson I learned, that in the future, all participants are vulnerable and have issues and challenges that we all must be aware of, because we're humans and we're all intersecting. So that was my failure. But it was a lesson that I learned. So to me, it wasn't a failure. It made me more aware, more self-aware of all participants.
Right.
So Anna, what about yours?
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing yours, Nettie. And it suddenly reminded me of children, right? So children learning to navigate a playground, let's say, or outside, that, here they're walking across a creek or something and they slip. Well, that's important that they slip. That's actually where their body readjusts to learn what they can and what they can't do and how to improve. So with my example, right? So I was thinking about actually a research project that I wrote about that specifically addresses failures in qualitative and mixed method research. And I'm happy to share the article with y'all if you're interested also afterward. But what it was a study of mother scholars around the world. So these are full-time working mothers in academic institutions and higher education who also have children. And initially we did the recruitment as planned, right? Approved by the ethics board on various social media sites. This is where I already knew that there are thousands of mother scholars connected in this way. And so we got all of this interest, and the initial idea was that, okay, well, great, we have the interest. We're going to set up, through proper email communications, a way to Zoom, right? Like this, that here we're together, we'll Zoom, we'll talk, or maybe we'll Skype if you can't do Zoom. And we realized that it didn't go as planned, right? That instead participants started, or potential participants, so even before they had signed off on agreeing to participate, started texting us on Facebook Messenger and saying, oh my gosh, I should tell you about this experience. Oh, you wouldn't believe it, that this is what happened to me. This is what's going on with my family or at work. And so we had to suddenly stop the process, right? To let people know that, okay, give us a moment. We need to check with our ethics board, right? Before we can collect data in this way, right? This wasn't what was planned. And so we took a step back. We went to the ethics, right? Our ethics are, it's both in the US and also in Kazakhstan. We're doing this international study with women around the world. And we got their approval. And so this is what we write about. Initially, the failure that I recognized was in the initial plan of data collection and how we then adjusted to it, and that there's actually in the business world, they talk about innovation coming from failure, right? Or this assumed failure, that you come up with these new ways. And so texting ended up seeming like this incredible way to interact with participants in an asynchronous manner often, or at 2 a.m, right? Somebody in one country would send a message, I can send a message, I'm in a different time zone, right? Y'all are all around the world, y'all know about these time zone differences. But now, right, as I continue to reflect back, I realize there are major issues in terms of ethics that continue to exist, that while texting does offer an incredible means for collecting data, offers access in ways that, Wi-Fi and video doesn't, it has not been established consistently around the world in terms of what happens with this data, who owns this data. So we know maybe, or some of y'all may be aware, that recently on WhatsApp, there was a breach of data. And so if we were collecting data on WhatsApp, then what happens now? Or often ethics boards, they want to know, for how long are you keeping the data, and when will you destroy it, right? This is the typical terms, right? Oh, I'll destroy the data after this amount of time. Well, that works fine if you're holding, a piece of paper, or you have a document on your computer, you can delete it. But what happens with Facebook messages, right? Or WhatsApp messages, how do you fully delete them? You can archive. So these continue to be issues, right? That then I'm now more aware of. This is then a slip that could have been better, right? That I recognize as something that needs to be addressed. And I hope in this kind of format, right, that this allows us, and as people write about these topics also and share about these topics, it allows all of us to improve our work and to help ethics boards. For instance, if you're a part of the ethics board, and you can give feedback to help them adapt their work also to bring up these points. So great.
Although in Europe, as we all know, in Europe, the GDPR rules are incredibly crazy. They're just like lawyers' nightmares, aren't they?
Clear, right? Yes. There's okay. So now this is where this comes to you.
Yes.
Right. So we'll go into breakout rooms for this. I'll share these questions on, broadcast a message to y'all so you can still see them in your breakout groups. But this is what you're thinking about, right? So think about your past research, or if you don't have past research, you can think about, future plans. So past or future research, where could it have been better, or where can you, where can you improve? Where can a problem or challenge lead to improvement, right, in the research itself in the future? So
everyone clear on this question? Yeah, just kind of critically self-reflect together as a group.
Well, so we can go into the breakout rooms in a moment, but before we break you out, I wanted to see first if you can do thumbs up or something that you feel okay, or in the text that you feel in the chat that you feel okay with the direction. Okay, I see you shaking your head. Yes, Minke, thank you. Or anyone else? All right. Okay, yeah, it's okay. Thumbs up, great.
Okay, good.
Oh, all right, wonderful. Okay, so I think end,
this
right?
is like a debate.
Yeah, or probably I will be executed by the committee, the organization.
Oh, no.
Right. So not much flexibility. Okay, so people are coming back. We're almost all here. So really then, where we're then moving to, I was in a great group. So happy to have been there, Liz and Anna. And then
I was in a great group too.
You too, and I'm sure the other group was also wonderful. It's amazing. So we wanted to hear some about your experiences. If a few people want to share a snippet of, of these experiences, and how did, you either adapt, or how could you do this differently in the future? Would somebody like to share one of their examples?
Thank you, Anne. Dorothea, Simon, anybody? Just throwing random names out. See if
I
anybody.
have an experience. Yes, I have an experience of conducting a in-depth interviews with nursing teachers about their teaching the theories. I found that they talk superficially and do not talk in depth. As they are all of them are my colleagues, I cannot scrutinize much with some sensitive words. So I just talk and then use different perspectives to scrutinize more meanings. But as far as I know that they are talking something grand, something to be acceptable to the self and others. So the dialogues or the data they are giving to me is not really truth. That is, I'm frustrated because I'm the insiders. I know that some of them is not working like this. So I should use my self-critical abilities to scrutinize the inner thought about their teaching theories. But
Simon, that's something that is, I sorry to interrupt you, but that because we have short time, but Dorothea was talking about this as well. She termed it differently about perspectives. Dorothea, do you want to, Anna, do you remember?
Yeah, it was about, you think about the representation of, as a researcher, we have as a person, and we are man and woman, so we have opinions about what we talk about with the person we are interviewing, and it's a bias because we arrive at the interview with some representation, and sometimes we think about the participant say something and we say, yeah, he said that because of, and we continue in a direction and it's not what he wanted to say first. I don't know if it's something, it's clear actually.
No, that's I completely. I think you're talking a lot about like the Simon, because Simon, you're talking about, and we also spoke in our group about, in certain cultures, particularly in Asian cultures, we have this kind of saving face, being worried that telling what the researcher, wants to hear as opposed to what they really want to say. Who else had something? Any other? Nenke?
Here comes Anna, unmuted.
Oh, Anna, yay.
Maybe I can share. It is a current experience and a challenge related to external circumstances. We have planned, and what happens? Well, currently related to COVID, but it can be related to other things. So, and sometimes the way we get contact with participants and how we can collect data also demands us to rethink and reorganize or the collected data, or even the way we're planning that. And I have this situation currently with a master's student, and so yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anna, for sharing that. We were talking about how this is facing us around the world, especially those who are working with students, and that we're seeing so many students that are needing to adjust their work and having to find these other ways forward. And one thing that I mentioned in this small group, but I'll mention to the rest of y'all. So my next book is actually looking at inclusive research in these socially distanced manners. And so if you're finding successes, challenges, ways forward, these are the kinds of things that we're looking to highlight, right? How do you create such environments to conduct the research that you would normally want to observe, to talk in groups, to create this space that clearly can't be done in the same way now? So maybe one other person who would like to share.
Yeah. Well, I was conducting focus groups with people who experience psychosis about recovery. And like one of my participants was like he had a very strong opinion, like if you want it hard enough, you work hard enough for it, you will get through it, which didn't align with the experience of some of the other people who were like saying like, but I am struggling and I cannot get over it. So she felt like really personally attacked by his ideas. And she even left the focus group because she was not feeling well. And yeah, I think it's really hard to find like the balance to give people the room to say how they think about things without hurting other people who are also in your research.
That's exactly what happened in the rap thing. Yeah, the same thing. Yeah.
This is great. Thank y'all for sharing those. If we had more time, I would love to hear. I would love to hear more of this. But what this leads into, maybe Nettie, you want to guide us in this next part. Now I'll type.
Well, what we were going to say is like, you know, so when we go and do, whether it's online or offline, when you're doing qualitative research, one of the key elements is a relationship. If you're doing an interview, you know, qualitative interview, you want to connect somehow to your participant. You want to get them to trust you, and to eliminate any power or bias in order to get the best data that you can. And what I mean by best data is that the truth. It's not superficially constructed, oh, this is what the researcher wants me to say, or, you know, so there we try to eliminate all the factors that, like age differences in relationships or gender differences in certain cultures can create problems, socioeconomic differences, cultural differences, ethnic identity differences. So all things that you could, like Dorothea was saying about bias, could be perceived as a bias. It can be a factor in how people respond to each other. It's not just our bias or not just their bias. It's sometimes how we have to work through these, as the process of working through these to better understand each other from a neutral perspective, in a sense.
So we wanted to get y'all to, as a final kind of brainstorming and collectively, to critically self-reflect on this. So, right, Nettie mentioned working through differences of age, of gender, of socioeconomic status, of ethnicity. What else can we consider? You can type it if you want or unmute.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, let me know as you see things, Nettie.
Yeah. What else might affect an interview process or a focus group or discussion?
If I could add something, I would say the position of each other. If, for example, a teacher has to interview a student, for example, it could be.
Yeah, power status. Yeah,
right?
That's exactly. Yeah.
It's a really important consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're in medicine and you're a doctor and somebody's a nurse, there might be this feeling of power imbalance. Anna, if the language, yes, language differences can be a huge.
Yeah, in my case, it would be like psychic vulnerability.
Yes.
Vulnerability?
Yeah.
Great.
I think a degree of trust is also important.
Consider not only how they view their participants, but how the participants view them, and what this power affords them and limits them in their.
Exactly. Yep.
And I bet, Simon, I'm sorry, I missed what you
said.
Stated.
Trust.
Trust. Okay,
yes.
Great.
Degree of trust.
Yeah.
And how power is affected. Trust. Absolutely. Yeah. I know this is getting small now.
Tiny little bit.
Yeah, tiny. These are great.
One thing is sometimes religion.
Right. Religion, and Anna touched upon, you know, so in COVID times, we can think about then the concept of access, right?
Yes.
So
resources.
Right. Access and resources. So an online focus group, but then somebody, or as we've seen, right, in this workshop, some people are able to unmute easily and other people aren't. And some people can show their faces and some people can't. And so the way that that affects the interactions and how people are understood or not is something to consider as we conduct our research.
Yeah.
So this is great.
Yeah, that's...
I think we can then, right, so we're wrapping up here. So then we're coming back, right? This was one of, in the abstract, right, for this workshop, we talked about these terms, right? Good, ethical, socially responsible. And as we suggested from the beginning, and as we've touched upon, these are all value laden. They all vary. They vary from time to time. They vary in context. And this is, at times you're saying that they can be synonymous, but often they aren't. They can intersect, but, you know, should they, right? And how, that's also even placing a should, right, is also value laden. And so if there was time, or if you think about, if you want to take something to practice yourself, right, as another kind of critical self-reflection, is that you could work to actually visualize in imagery, in, you know, looking at pictures in a magazine, right, in considering different research, right? How are you defining good research?
Yeah.
And why are we saying good instead of something like effective, or effective in which manner, right? And how are you defining ethical? Ethical from whose perspective, and from which power position, from which of, you know, these other categories that you all have come up with? And then what is socially responsible? Yeah. And from whose perspective is it socially responsible? Yeah. So it looked like, Nettie, did you want to add something else there?
Well, I was going to say, like, when we're thinking about these lists and critically thinking, always go back to, and this goes back to what Dorothea and our group was talking about, assumptions. It's very easy to make assumptions, to have a bias. Of course, we always do. We just say, oh, this is, I think this is a woman. I think this is a, and I'll give you an example. My refugee project, we had this cooking thing, and she came and she was Iranian, and she came in, and it was around Ramadan. And so the assumption by the Finnish was that, oh, you're not eating because you're Muslim. And she's like, no, I'm not Muslim. Just because I'm Iranian doesn't mean. She came from a minority persecuted religious group, but she didn't talk about her religion because they were persecuted. And the Finnish were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you could be from Iran and not be a Muslim. And so, you know, so we sometimes unintentionally project a bias on, oh, this person is an academic or a teacher. And that has all these, like, this word has all these kind of meanings. And so when you're critically thinking, try to go, oh, have I checked off my checklist of things not to assume? You know? And am I trying to get to a neutral, trusting relationship with my participant?
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Does anybody have any further questions or comments or?
And so as kind of the final things, right? Yeah, so think about these other questions that y'all might have. And so we're thinking then, right, we started off with these couple things, but this could also be a brainstorming if you wanted to. But so what have we learned today, right? Where have we come in this last hour and a half together? And so initially, right, Nettie and I were thinking that, you know, okay, so what was it, right? Well, this is a toolkit, right? We'll share the PowerPoint with anyone who's interested. There are questions, right, for anyone to be able to use, recognizing factors, this list that you came up with that need highlighting, and critically self-aware qualitative research. I saw somebody wrote in the chat, but are there other things that anyone would like to highlight or to share regarding in coming together?
So we were hoping to build a toolkit for you to provide some sort of, we were saying we want to be able to send to the participants.
PowerPoint itself, right? these aspects that you've developed. And so other aspects, right? So you, from the beginning, whether this was, you know, thinking about the brain dump, the collective meaning making, the list of various aspects that you are coming together of, you know, definitions of, you know, self-reflection and critical self-reflection, where they intersect. So this is part of our process, right? The journey of where we have come and coming back around as kind of a final component of thinking about and engaging you all in critical self-reflection within the workshop, right? That this is a lived experience of critical self-reflection. And so it brings us then to the end, right? That so for the book, we have one quote here that just talks about the book itself, right? So questions and qualitative research in multicultural context that's coming out with Routledge. So we focus on socially just qualitative research in multicultural contexts that encourage inclusion and equity for communities who have been historically marginalized, colonized, and or oppressed, for those who have been overlooked or silenced. As qualitative researchers, we have an opportunity to help highlight and amplify voices who want to be heard. For qualitative researchers to work with others, it's important to continually adapt and grow in awareness and critical self-reflection. And I'm so fortunate and so glad that y'all were here to help me grow in this process, allowing us this chance to come together and work with y'all.
Yeah, it was really nice meeting so many different voices from so many different places. Thank you guys for sharing that small amount of time with us.
Thank you so much. And I think we can, this is a wonderful, I think that the room will be open for a few more minutes if anyone wants to hang out and before, right, we get cut off. But you see our emails there. And I think, Chaim, you have everybody's registration, right? That we could...
I just saved the chat so you can know who are here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all so much.